The Subaru XV was a bit of a sleeper. It looked like a small, lifted hatchback. One look at it and you wouldn't think that it could handle a muddy trail. But it was actually a very capable off-roader, thanks to Subaru's symmetrical all-wheel drive system. Now, I myself was a bit of a skeptic, but I took it to some pretty challenging terrain and I couldn't get it stuck. It left a lot of people impressed, including myself. It's Subaru's best-selling model in the Philippines, and it will be retired for this generation, but only by name. It will now be called the Crosstrek. It now comes with a more sinister-looking face, improved ADAS, and a much higher price tag. Is it still worth your money? Let's find out. So this is the all-new Subaru Crosstrek. It's now called the Crosstrek, no longer the XV. Now Subaru has always been very conservative when it comes to their updates, and it's no different here on the new Crosstrek, not the XV. It has very similar dimensions and very similar proportions to the previous Subaru XV, and if you didn't know any better, you might mistake this for a facelift. The dimensions have barely changed. The Crosstrek is slightly longer, 10 millimeters longer to be precise. The width is exactly the same, and the Crosstrek is 15 millimeters lower than the XV. The ground clearance is the same as before at 220 millimeters. But it now looks more aggressive. It has an angrier looking face with these squintier looking headlamps. This is the base model, and this base model gets halogen DRLs. Also, this trim on the base model is finished in gloss black, while on the top of the line it's finished in silver. You get this rugged looking grille over here and this aggressive looking chin. You get halogen fog lamps down here. Like the previous Subaru XV, this Crosstrek also gets these flat black fender moldings and also these flat black claddings on the bottom of the car, which give the Crosstrek a more rugged look. So you get these golf ball like dimples on the claddings, which are supposed to improve the aerodynamics of the car. They're supposed to smoothen the airflow over these panels over here. Now this base model gets smaller 17-inch wheels finished in gunmetal, while the top of the line gets bigger 18s. The suspension and the brakes are the same for both variants. Both get disc brakes on all four corners, and both get independent suspension as well on all four corners. The base model gets power folding side mirrors with repeaters. You get this beefy looking roof rail. The Crosstrek has the same DNA as the XV. It has the same general shape, the same low and long hood line, a relatively small greenhouse. Doesn't quite look like an SUV, more like a lifted station wagon. The lines on the Crosstrek look more fluid compared to the more angular lines of the XV. Overall, I think it's a visual upgrade, especially at the front. It's very aggressive. It almost has this serpentine look to it. Here at the back, it still gets these familiar crab claw tail lamps. It's a mix of LEDs and halogens. Like this part over here is LED, and these reverse lights and turn signals are halogens. You get reverse sensors, you get a reverse camera, and you get a manual liftgate. Cargo space is not the best in its class. It has 291 liters of cargo space, and the loading height is pretty tall. You do get a full-sized spare tire though underneath the false flooring, and the second row seats fold flat. Under the hood of the Crosstrek is a 2-liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder boxer engine, which puts out 156 horsepower and 198 Newton-meters of torque. It's coupled to a CVT transmission with 8 simulated gears, and power is sent to all 4 wheels. Now stepping inside the cabin of the Subaru Crosstrek, you're greeted by an interior that looks more modern and less cluttered than the previous Subaru XV. Instead of getting two screens like on the Subaru XV, we now just get one large 12-inch screen, which is in vertical orientation. It helps minimize clutter by minimizing the number of buttons on the dashboard. Thankfully, we still get buttons here for our dual zone climate control. You can adjust your temperature using these buttons over here and also over here. But the fan speed controls are now on the screen. We still get a physical volume knob and a physical tuning knob. Now this infotainment screen gets Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. You don't get a 360 camera, not even on the top of the line model. You get the reverse camera, but the resolution is not the best in the segment. Now at first glance, the interior looks more premium, but when you start touching things, that's when you realize that a lot of this is now made of hard plastic. Like this part of the dashboard is made of hard plastic. This is also made of hard plastic, hard plastic, hard plastic. The top of the dashboard is soft touch. These panels right here are covered in fabric, and your armrests are covered in leather. Now at first I thought this was just the case with the base model, but apparently even on the top of the line variant, this is also made of hard plastic. This gets manually adjustable fabric seats. If you want leather seats, you'll have to get the top of the line model. You get a leather wrapped steering wheel with paddle shifters. Now this gets EyeSight 4, which I think is the best ADAS system in the market right now, at least in the Philippines, and we'll get to test that out later. You get one USB-C port over here, one USB-A port, and one aux jack. You get an electronic parking brake without a hold. You get this carbon fiber like accent over here. Now in terms of storage, the glove box is quite big. It's also dampened. You have plenty of storage underneath the armrest. And you have storage here for your phone. Yeah, overall, it's not a bad looking interior. It's an improvement, at least visually, from the previous Subaru XV. But I just wish that we didn't have so many hard plastic panels. In that regard, at least, it feels like a downgrade from the Subaru XV. Here at the back seat, you don't get a lot of toys. You don't get air vents. You don't get USB ports. You don't even get a center armrest. And you don't get any usable cup holders here. Also, the center tunnel is quite high, which is understandable since it's an all-wheel drive vehicle. But in terms of space, it's pretty good. I have about 4 inches of legroom, and headroom is also pretty good at about 3 inches. Okay, so enabling adaptive cruise control, set it to 40 kph, enable automatic steering. The new Crosstrek now comes with Subaru's updated EyeSight 4, which I think is one of the best ADAS systems in the market. So right now we have adaptive cruise control and lane keep assist turned on, and my feet are not doing anything, as you can see, and my hands are also not doing anything. This has the most sophisticated lane centering system that I've tried on any car. So on most cars, they monitor the lines on the road. This one also monitors the car in front of you, so even if the lines are blurry, it can still stay within its lane. And it works at any speed, even in stop and go traffic like this. EyeSight 4 also has a wider field of view, so even if the car in front of you turns sharply, your adaptive cruise control will not automatically turn off, which was the case with the previous Subaru XV. So you can see, we're still using adaptive cruise control. Okay. This has a start-stop system, by the way, and as you can see, the engine automatically stopped. And one neat thing about the start-stop system of the Subaru EyeSight, of the Subaru Crosstrek, is that it shows you how many milliliters of fuel you're saving when the system engages. So right now I've saved about 259 milliliters of fuel since my last refuel. see, there are no lines on the road here, and the car is still steering itself. It's trying to follow the car in front. The Subaru XV had 2 eye-side cameras. The Crosstrek has 3 cameras for a wider field of view and better pedestrian and cyclist detection. The driver assist systems of the Crosstrek work at any speed, from stop-and-go traffic to highway speeds. What this lacks though is the face detection that you get on the Subaru Outback, which can tell if you're paying attention to the road, and also applies your personal settings when it recognizes you. One of the reasons that you buy a Subaru is for its symmetrical all-wheel drive system, which may be the best all-wheel drive system in its class. As far as I know, it's unchanged from the previous XV, which is not a bad thing as the all-wheel drive system of the XV was quite excellent. It automatically detects slippage and redirects power to the wheels with traction. Even with highway terrain tires, it's very difficult to get it stuck in mud. And unlike other all-wheel drive systems in this class, the all-wheel drive system of the Crosstrek has a more balanced front and rear ratio. The Crosstrek has a 2-liter naturally aspirated engine, which puts out 156 horsepower. That's about par for the course in this class. The thing is though, the CVT transmission of the Crosstrek makes it feel like it's slower than it actually is. You get that CVT rubber band effect. Like if I step on the gas right now, that's pedal to the metal, and it's making a lot of noise, but you don't hear a proportional increase in speed. Everything just feels feathered. By the way, you have 2 driving modes here. You have I. Not sure what I stands for, but they also have S. And you get slightly better throttle response when you're in S mode. Still acceleration feels muted. Because of the CVT transmission, you do feel that lack of urgency when you suddenly step on the gas. But while it's not quick, it's not really slow either. It just feels like it. It can do 0 to 100 kph in about 10.5 seconds, which is okay. While its acceleration leaves a lot to be desired, it does handle pretty well. Its lower center of gravity and the independent suspension make it feel more car-like and less crossover-like in the corners. It is relatively flat when cornering. The steering ratio also feels relatively quick. That, coupled to Subaru's torque vectoring system and its all-wheel drive system, makes the Crosstrek feel more nimble on twisty roads. Fuel economy is surprisingly decent as long as there's not much traffic. On the highway, I was able to get about 20 kpl, and in the city with moderate traffic, I was able to get about 10.8 kpl. When traffic gets worse, it goes down to about 7 kpl, which is still not bad for an all-wheel drive crossover. The start-stop function does help quite a bit. Now, as for NVH, the Crosstrek has pretty good noise insulation. Very little noise enters the cabin, which makes the CVT drone a bit more bearable when you're flooring it. Ride quality is also pretty good. It's definitely a vehicle that you can easily live with every day. The base model Subaru IL sells for 1,998,000 pesos, while the top-of-the-line IS sells for 2,018,000 pesos. The way Subaru priced the 2 variants makes it difficult, if not impossible, to recommend this lower variant. The IS, the top-of-the-line model, only sells for 20,000 pesos more, and that one gets leather seats, a sunroof, a wireless phone charger, LED DRLs, bigger 18-inch wheels. Now that's a lot of additional stuff for just 20,000 pesos, and if you can get your hands on the top-of-the-line model, get that one instead of this. Perhaps the biggest hurdle to the Crosstrek is its price. The Crosstrek is a lot more expensive than similarly sized crossovers, but do keep in mind that this is all-wheel drive, and compared to other all-wheel drive crossovers, it's still expensive, but not by much. It's priced about the same as the Mazda CX-5 all-wheel drive non-turbo. The Crosstrek is not the most premium feeling in its class. That kind of belongs to Mazda, but I think Subaru has the best all-wheel drive system among small crossovers in its price bracket. And it also has the best ADAS system. And if those things are important to you, then I think you should give this one a serious consideration.